Okay, hello everyone and welcome back. We have been solving systems of linear equations. Earlier this week, we did it by graphing. We had two lines, we graphed them and found out where they intersected. Well, at the end of the week here, we're going to solve systems using substitution. This is kind of like the algebra way to solve it. There's a couple algebra ways to solve it, and this is the first one we're going to look at. So again, our objective here today, solve a system of linear equations using substitution. All right, substitute, where you replace, all right, some equivalent expression. Our essential question, and you're going to need to know this again for the notes assignment. How can we use substitution to solve a system of two linear equations? And y'all, we're just using two linear equations with two variables. Okay, that's the system that we're going to be solving here in high school. At least in Algebra 2 here as ninth graders. Okay, just a quick review. Guys, linear is where you just have an x and a y. You graph it, you get a straight line. Okay, something that's not linear is where you have like an x squared or an x cubed or a y squared. That's not linear. That's curvy. This is a quadratic down here, and this is a cubic, x to the third. Okay, so please keep that in mind. I want you to know the difference between something that's linear and something that's not linear. All right. Substitution is replacing a variable in an equation with its equivalent expression. So in this example, if y equals 2x minus 7 and y equals minus 4x plus 11, I guess that's negative 4x, we can just take 2x minus 7 and replace it in where this y is. See, this really says y equals y. The blue expression and the black expression both equal y. This says y equals y. And because they both equal y, they are equal to each other. Then we can algebraically solve it because now we have an equation with only one variable. That's the key. Up here we have two equations with two variables. We use substitution to get one equation with one variable. Then we use algebra to solve it and get that one variable. All right? The next step is to plug it back in and find out what the y is once you find the x. Guys, substitution. It's used when one of the equation is easy to solve for one of the variables. Like if this just says x plus y equals 24, it's easy to just subtract x from both sides and just say, well, y equals 24 minus x. All right, so you define y in terms of x. You get one variable all by itself, then you can substitute in. Or probably the very best way of all, it's when both equations, or one of them, it's already solved for one of the variables. It says like y equals this and y equals that, because then you can just say, well, these two equal each other. I can substitute 2x plus y into the first equation. Or 2x plus 7, I'm sorry, into the first equation for y. Or I can substitute x plus 6 in for y in the bottom. Either way works. Guys, there are 5 steps to the substitution method. Here's what they are. We're going to go through them here. In an example, you need to know what these steps are for the vocabulary assessment today. This is the vocabulary assessment today. the 5 steps. All right, solve for one of the variables. All right, that might have already been done for you. Just make sure that one of the variables is by itself, and then substitute it into the other expression, the other equation. So now you have an equation with only one variable. Step 3, then solve for that variable in that equation. Now once you have the number, once you've solved for one of the variables, take that number and plug it into the other equation. All right, substitute it back into the original equation to find out what the other variable is. The last step, make sure you check your answer. Check to make sure it works in both equations, both original equations, and write your answer as an ordered pair, X, Y, or whatever, alphabetical order, whatever 2 numbers they give you, okay? In example number 1, here's our system of equations, these 2 linear equations right here. Both equations are already solved for y. All right, so because y equals 2x minus 2x plus 5, I can substitute it in right here, this blue part. They're equal to each other. So 2x plus 5 equals x plus 3. Then we can solve and find out that x equals -2. Those are the first 3 steps. You find out what one of the variables is. Usually you find out what x is. Then substitute it back into the first equation to find y. If y equals x plus 3, that's what the original equation says right here, then substitute x, -2 plus 3, that equals 1. So y must equal 1. All right, let's check our answer with this other equation to make sure. It says y equals 2x plus 5. We'll plug in -2 for x. This is -4 plus 5 is 1. So y, yes, again, is 1, so it works. Okay? That's kind of the steps, and we'll go through that in the second video. There's a worksheet, and you need to know how to do that for the exit ticket. Okay? Guys, if you solve, you substitute in, you're solving for the first variable, and the variable disappears. And you get something that says like this, 3 equals 7. Something that's a false equation. Sometimes this happens. But what that means is that these 2 lines are parallel. There is no solution. Again, the variable will disappear. All right, and you'll get a false statement, a false equation. All right, that means there's no solutions. Sometimes, as you go about solving, again, the variables disappear, and you end up with a true statement. 24 equals 24. That happens sometimes too. That means that these 2 equations are the same line, and you have infinite many solutions. Okay, and we covered that before in the graphing, but algebraically, that's what happens. And I'm running out of time here. I just want to show you these again are the 5 steps you're going to need for substitution. Solve one of the equations for one variable, substitute it in, and solve that equation. Plug it back into the other equation, and find the other variable. And then check your answer to make sure. And write it as an ordered pair, okay? All right, right now, y'all, you're in the green folder. Go ahead and complete today's notes assignment and the summary assessment. All right, prepare for the next Zoom meeting. We're going to go over the vocabulary assignment together, again, which is in the orange folder. The vocabulary assessment are what are the 5 steps to solving a system of linear equations using the substitution method. Okay, that's what the vocabulary assessment is about today. It's putting them in order. Okay, that's it. Don't forget to come to the next Zoom meeting. All right, thank you.